Ethics for the Modern Massage Therapist. We're in our last segment now, and we're going to talk a bit about the digital age, or the digital components of our practice nowadays, which, when we both started practicing, didn't really exist. But, the world has changed so much that we now need to think about things like electronic documentation, social media, emails. So let's start with social media, since that tends to be the hot button here, and we have brought it up in a couple of different discussions earlier on in the course. So what about social media? What are the sort of the recommendations of things with regards to social media usage?
Well, the first place we really need to pay attention to is that there is nothing private on social media. Even if you think you are only sharing it with your 150 or 400 closest friends, anything really can get out to the public. So if you're not willing to share that with the public, and you don't want your clients to find out things about you, it probably does not belong on social media. You probably need to edit yourself and back it down a few notches. One of the most critical places is with client privacy.
Right.
So it's never okay to just randomly be talking about clients. It's especially not okay to be talking about clients on your social media feed. Now, I publish testimonials from clients on a regular basis. The client has provided that testimonial to the business.
Right.
In a public social media way, with giving me permission to use that. So that's perfectly okay. But if a client just says something in passing in session, I don't then get to go post that on social media to blow my horn, so to speak. And just like, working with people who have a name or a celebrity or something like that, we always have to protect their privacy.
Yeah.
That is, again, the whole ethical framework is we have to think of the client's well-being, their best interest. And social media is one of those places where it may not be as fun, but that's where we need to back off to.
Yep, absolutely. One of the things that we do in the School of Health Professions with all of the allied health programs we have here at CCBC is we have our students, we give them a social media ethical question, which, believe me, has actually happened in real time, where a student has been at a clinical site and was like taking the selfie of, hey, I'm at, Franklin Square, or I'm at this site, and that shouldn't have even happened either. Or that they've taken pictures with patients, like they just witnessed a birth or something like that, and they took pictures. None of that is okay. Even if the client gives you permission, it's still, you could be working in a scenario where maybe it's not okay to be posting any pictures of anything, or, you shouldn't even be on social media while you're at work. So, we have to think about these things, that while it's this great, friendly, connecting tool that we have, and it can be used for both personal and professional benefit, understanding that that can have a poor reflection on you if you're not really doing right by, especially the type of work that you're doing. I mean, imagine if your accountant posted your income on his social media page, or your lawyer, publicized things like, that's really the same kind of thing when you think about it, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, we have to remember that even though we have this unbelievably cool invention that the internet is, that we have to be very careful and responsible with how we use it. So with that, let's talk about emails and text messaging, because that's kind of changed the dynamic of how we interact with clients now, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because it's not something I do within my practice, but there are a lot of people who are using text messages to interact with their clients, schedule, all that kind of thing. That's a very, very casual sort of interaction. Mm-hmm. It is relatively impersonal. We're not seeing each other's faces. We're not listening to each other's voices on the phone. It feels like it relaxes things. It's no big deal. I'll just text her back real quick. Well, the reality is that we still have the same professional responsibilities, ethical requirements to communicate clearly, to be very, to give clients all the information they need about things. And it can totally be done in text messaging. It's just more difficult.
Yeah.
The same thing goes with emails. As an employer, excuse me, one of the things that I look at, I ask people to email me first up, because if someone cannot actually put together a very simple email, I'm not impressed with their professionalism.
Right.
I'm concerned that they're not going to be able to communicate professionally with a client.
Mm-hmm.
So within an email, you need to be clear and polite and professional and spell check and all of those things to, one, cover your ethical responsibilities about how you communicate, but also to come off as a professional, as a responsible, functional adult human being who is in business.
Right.
And because of the casual nature of all of these things, that sometimes gets set aside. And I don't think it is smart for individual therapists or our profession as a whole.
Yeah. And the other thing too is an email and text, you can't really sense tone in it. So I know that with me as a practitioner, when I accept a client, I do get client texts, especially if someone has referred someone to me. There's like, hey, so-and-so referred me to you. One of the things that I will do is I will text them back and say, can I schedule a call with you? Because if they are a brand new client, this is how you screen whether or not that client is appropriate for you. And you're not necessarily going to pick that up in an email or a text message, but in a phone conversation, you will. So, having said that once I've established a relationship with a client, if I know that they're trustworthy enough that when I've emailed with them or text messaged with them, they have demonstrated that ability to do so, then I will allow it. But again, that's a different boundary that I have versus you. I'm a sole practitioner and, you run a business. So, and that's perfectly okay. Neither one of us is necessarily right or wrong. It's just, this is just a different boundary issue. But we have to be cognizant of that because this is an expectation of how people communicate now. So, I can't be as discerning or savvy on an email or text message like I can when I sit here and talk with you.
Well, and one other final piece to that is that we still need to protect people's privacies.
Right.
We still need to follow HIPAA privacy guidelines.
Right.
If we're doing all of this on our phone needs to be locked down. Mm-hmm. We need to be using passwords. It's not okay that half of the family grabs my phone and just happens to see that this client Bridget is coming in. That's actually not okay.
Right. Right. So, and it's good that you bring this up because it kind of leads us right into electronic documentation and record keeping because, that kind of goes along with HIPAA too. Nowadays more and more massage therapists are doing electronic documentation, which is fantastic, but it has its responsibilities. So why don't we touch upon that?
Again, basically the good old-fashioned way of keeping records is to keep them, written on paper, and they need to be behind 2 locks.
Right.
So essentially, in my office, they're basically behind 3 locks, but the office where the files are kept is locked, and then the filing cabinet is locked. Mm-hmm. So they are, and then of course the front door if we're not locked. There.
Right.
That same level of privacy and security is required for electronic documents as well. Mm-hmm. They can't just be in a folder sitting on your desktop.
Right.
You need to develop the proper protocols to keep things safe so that prying eyes cannot get to people's private health information.
Right.
There are good programs and things that work and provide that for us. And I think for most not tech-savvy therapists, working with a program that assures that makes a lot more sense than making something up for yourself.
Yeah.
If you're tech-savvy, go ahead and create your own program.
Right.
But if you're not, there are already established systems that allow us to keep our SOAP notes and client records and client contact information secure.
Yep, and data encryption is incredibly important. So having a password, having data encryption, making sure that things can be encrypted when they're sent over the internet. You should even consider doing that with email sometimes too.
Absolutely.
You know, especially when you're sending things like records and so forth and so on. So, yeah, I mean, all things.
I don't accept things. I don't accept like client intake forms.
Mhm.
I provide them for people to fill out in advance, but I'm very clear that I don't accept them via email because I do not have the appropriate encryption in that system.
Right. So, whereas here in our student clinic, we actually have a clinic management software system
that allows it.
And so we send them the link to fill out the health history form, and then that is keeping it safe.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
Absolutely. All right. So, do we know about any other future considerations that are on the horizon with regards to ethics? Is there anything that, you know, that is sort of on the cusp of what could be potentially going into massage therapy practice today?
I think it's a great thing to play with and think about. The way I'm seeing the world is that we are getting closer and more connected even when we're farther apart and more distant.
Mm-hmm.
So the casualness, the ease of contact, all of those pieces, those are in direct opposition to strong boundaries and strong ethical foundations.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that the push and pull of the pieces we've been talking about, social media, all of these, like the new world, it's going to be continuing to find a way to manage all of this access while needing to protect privacy. We need to create safe space for our clients to be in and for them to do their change and healing work.
Yep.
And
so I actually came upon another thought that just crossed my mind. What about the vice versa of the client having the cell phone in the treatment room? I know that's come up a lot with therapists, and they've brought that up and saying, should I allow it or shouldn't I allow it? Again, that's a technological thing. When we went to school, people didn't do that, but they do it now. So what's the consideration there?
If you walk in and say, my kid is walking home from school alone for the first time and I need to have my phone to be able to make sure that they can text me when they get home, yeah, sure.
Mm-hmm.
Beyond that, or if you're somebody on call or something, leave the phone on, I'll get it for you. Beyond that, I really do ask people to turn it off. I've had a couple of clients who I've come into the room and there they are on the table like this, texting away.
Mm-hmm.
And I've said, oh, well, I just smoothly say, oh, let me put that away for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The purpose of what, and again, this is being the professional in this room, and this is using the power dynamic appropriately. I am here to help your body relax. Number one value of massage is helping trigger the parasympathetic system, getting your system to come down. If you are Facebooking or whatever, that's just not going to happen. I probably should not use Facebook. That's showing how my age.
Yeah, right. Well,
but if you're making a TikTok video in the middle of your
right. Well, that's what some of the complaints have been on some of the online discussion forums, is that some clients were like trying to take selfies of themselves while they're getting a massage done, or they're trying to videotape their therapist, which as a therapist, I would be very put off by that. I'd be very uncomfortable with that. So yeah, I do think the cell phone needs to go away unless it's that extreme emergent situation.
Exactly.
So I couldn't agree
and I feel perfectly okay with saying no to that.
Yeah, me too. So it's not exactly a place for, it's like going into surgery and saying, wait, but I need my cell phone. You can get it, put it away for an hour. Yeah, it's okay.
You'll be okay.
So, absolutely. Wow, well, we have definitely covered
this has been fun.
Quite a breadth of information with regards to ethics, especially for those who are now operating in the modern world as massage therapists. So I want to thank you, Amelia, for taking time out to share your breadth of knowledge and insight, clearly helpful to those of us out in massage therapy practice. So thank you.
You're welcome. It's been a pleasure, Robin.
Great,
absolutely.
Great. So just a couple of reminders for those of you who are trying to take this course for continuing education credit. You will need to take a quiz. If you have not been taking the quizzes on the individual units, those individual units are there to kind of test your knowledge, but you will have a final quiz at the very end in order for you to earn your full CEU credit for this course. So make sure that you do that, so that way you can get your full credit for the course. We thank you very much for choosing CCBC for your continuing education, and we'd like to thank again Amelia Mitchell for being our guest today. We hope you will consider us for your other future massage therapy continuing education needs. This is Robin Anderson signing off from CCBC Massage Therapy Lab.